Hello everyone, how are you all? Hope you all are doing well. So we would be doing what? Very quick revision, rapid revision of e-way bill. When is required? When e-way bill is required to be generated? When there is a movement of goods. When is e-way bill required? Movement of goods of a consignment value exceeding 50,000. It could be in relation to supply for reason other than supply or due to inward supply for an unregistered person. It could be due to any of these reasons. But when there is a movement of goods, when there is a movement of goods of exceeding 50,000, then e-way bill is required to be generated. Then e-way bill is required to be generated. The person who is causing the movement of the goods, he has to furnish the details of the goods in Part A of GST EWB 01. Part A of GST EWB 01 before commencement of such movement. Before commencement of such movement. Okay. Then special situation where e-way bill need to be issued even if the value of consignment is less than 50,000. What are the special situation where e-way bill needs to be issued even if the value is less than 50,000? Even if the value is less than 50,000. In case of interstate transfer of goods by principal to job worker. So even if the value is less than 50,000, in these three scenarios, e-way bill is required to be generated. What? Interstate transfer of goods by principal to job worker. When the principal is transferring the goods to job worker, when the principal is transferring the goods to job worker, e-way bill is required to be generated. Then interstate transfer of what? Handicraft goods by a person exempted from obtaining registration. The person who is exempted from obtaining the registration, he is transferring what? Interstate transferring what? Handicraft goods. Even though from registration he is exempted, but e-way bill he has to generate in case of interstate handicraft goods. Then and if you want to voluntary generate e-way bill, no issues at all. Generate. So in these three scenarios, even if the value is less than 50,000, you have to generate the e-way bill. What are those three scenarios? Interstate transfer of goods by principal to job worker. Then interstate transfer of handicraft goods by a person exempted from obtaining registration, and third is voluntary generation of e-way bill. Voluntary generation of e-way bill. What are the details which are required in GST EWB 01? The details which are required is in Part A. In Part A, you have to give the details of like GSTIN of supplier, place of delivery, GSTIN of recipient, document number, document date, value of goods, HSN code, and reason for transportation. These all details you have to fill in Part A. These all details you have to fill in Part A. And in Part B, you will fill what? Vehicle number. You will fill vehicle number and transport document number. In Part B, you will fill vehicle number and transport document number. Okay. So Part A to be furnished by a registered person who is causing the movement of goods. Part A to be furnished by the person who is causing the movement of goods. Who is causing the movement of goods? He has to furnish what details in Part A. Part A is to be furnished by the person who is causing the movement of the goods. However, information in Part A may be furnished by transporter authorized receive or an authorization received from a registered person, or by the ECO courier agency authorization received from the consignor. Anyone can furnish the details. Anyone can furnish the details. Any of these people. Okay. And Part B is obviously to be furnished by the person who is transporting the goods. See, in Part B, the details of vehicle is there. Vehicle number and transport document number. So it has to be furnished by the person who is transporting the goods. Who is transporting the goods. Now next. E-way bill is required to be generated by who will generate the e-way bill? If the goods are transported by a registered person as a consignor or consignee. You are a registered person, you are consignor or consignee? Okay. So, when the goods are transported by a registered person as a consignor or consignee, then registered person will generate the e-way bill. Registered person will generate the e-way bill. E-way bill is not generated by registered person and goods are handed over to the transporter. So, e-way bill is not generated by registered person, but the goods he has handed over to whom? Transporters. For transportation of the goods, then registered person will furnish the details of transporter in Part B, and e-way bill shall be generated by transporter, and then e-way bill will be generated by the transporter. And the goods are transported by railway, air, vessel, then in that case obviously registered person will generate the e-way bill. So in case of railway, air, vessel transportation is there, registered person will generate the e-way bill. Registered person will generate the e-way bill. Railways will not deliver the goods unless the e-way bill required under the rule is presented at the time of delivery. So, in case you are transporting from railway, so railways will not deliver you the goods until and unless you give what? The e-way bill is produced at the time of delivery. So, it is compulsory at the time of delivery, till the time of delivery. When it is not mandatory to furnish the details of conveyance in part B, when details of conveyance, the vehicle details are not required in part B. So if the details of conveyance may not be furnished in part B of the e-way bill where the goods are transported for a distance up to 50 km within the state or union territory. When you are transporting the goods within the distance of what, 50 km within the state or union territory, up to a distance of 50 km within the state or union territory, in that case what, the details of conveyance may not be furnished in part B. In that case, details of conveyance may not be furnished in part B. In which cases, when the goods are transported for a distance up to 50 km within the state or union territory. When you are transporting the goods within the state or union territory within 50 kilometers up to 50 km, then the details of conveyance are not required. So within the state, I am transporting, for example, Mumbai to Mumbai within a distance of say for 10 kilometers. So it is up to 50 kilometers within the state union territory. In that case, details of the conveyance is not required in part B. Details of conveyance are not required. Then acceptance and rejection of e-way bill. You remember this? So now the details of e-way bill is made available to the supplier or recipient if registered. So for example, I have made the e-way bill, I am the supplier, so the details will be available to the recipient. So any party, the other party will receive the details. The supplier or recipient will communicate his acceptance or rejection of the consignment covered by the e-way bill. The other party has to either accept or reject. Okay. In case the person to whom the information in part A is available does not communicate his acceptance and rejection within the specified time, then it will be deemed that he has accepted. Now, if within the stipulated time he does not accept or reject, then it is assumed that it is deemed that he has accepted it. He has accepted it. The time limit is specified for this purpose is, what is the time limit specified for this purpose? 72 hours of the details being made available to him on the common portal. 72 hours of the details being made available to him on the common portal, or the time of delivery whichever is earlier. So what is the time specified for this purpose? 72 hours of the details being made available to him on the common portal, or the time of delivery whichever is earlier. Okay, so what is the time limit specified for acceptance or rejection? For acceptance or rejection, it is 72 hours from the time it is made available to him, or the time of delivery of the goods whichever is earlier. Then validity period of e-way bill or consolidated e-way bill. What is the validity period of e-way bill or consolidated e-way bill? Up to the distance, it will depend upon distance, up to the distance of 200 kilometers. If your distance within the country is 200 kilometers, then the validity is 1 day. And for every 200 kilometer or part thereof, next 200 kilometer or part thereof, one additional day. This is other than over dimensional cargo or multimodal shipment in which one leg involve at least transportation by ship. You remember over dimensional cargo, the big cargos, the big trucks on the highway you must have seen. So in this limit is not applicable for over dimensional cargo. And second, multimodal shipment in which one leg involves transportation by ship. So for example, multimodal shipment in which one leg involves transportation by ship means what? So if your goods are transported, one leg is ship and one is by road, or one is by ship, one is by railway. So one means of transportation is ship. So it is not applicable in case of over dimensional cargo and multimodal shipment in which one leg involves transportation of ship. So what is in that case? In that case, up to 20 kilometers, 1 day in case of over dimensional cargo or multimodal shipment in which one mode involves transportation by ship, or for every 20 kilometer or part thereof, one additional day. For every 20 kilometer or part thereof, one additional day. Okay. Now, transfer of goods. So this validity is important. Sometimes they'll ask you. So first 200 kilometers, 1 day. For every 200 kilometer or part thereof, one additional day. Up to 20 kilometers in case of over dimensional cargo or multimodal shipment, up to 20 kilometer 1 day, and for every 20 kilometer or part thereof, one additional day. Then transfer of goods from one conveyance to another. Now if I have to transfer the goods from one conveyance to another, what I have to do? So if the goods are transferred from one conveyance to another by either consignor, recipient who has provided the information, or the transporters, then before such transfer and further movement, update the details of conveyance in part B. In part B, you have to update the vehicle details. Whenever you are transferring the goods, you have to update the details in part B. Okay. Then Documents and devices to be carried by the person in charge of conveyance. Document or devices which are to be carried by the person in charge of the conveyance. The person in charge of conveyance shall, what they have to do? They have to carry what? The invoice or bill of supply or delivery challan. The invoice, bill of supply or delivery challan. Okay. So the person in charge of the conveyance, the person in charge of the conveyance, the person who is in charge of the conveyance, he has to carry what? He has to carry invoice, bill of supply or delivery challan, and the copy of e-way bill he has to carry in physical form or the e-way bill number in electronic form mapped to RFID embedded on the conveyance. Okay, so what the person in charge has to carry? The person in charge has to carry either the person in charge has to carry what? The invoice, bill of supply or delivery challan, or the copy of e-way bill, the copy of the e-way bill in the physical form or e-way bill number. So either he can carry it in physical form or he can carry the e-way bill number, or map to RFID onto the conveyance. Okay, so this all he has to carry. In case of imported goods, he has to also carry what? Bill of entry. He has to also carry bill of entry. So along with invoice, the e-way bill also he has to carry. And in case of imported goods, copy of bill of entry. Then in IRN, you remember e-invoice in tax invoice chapter we have seen. So in case of e-invoice, in case e-invoice is issued, QR code having embedded IR in it may be produced electronically for verification by proper officer in lieu of physical copy of invoice. No, in case of e-invoice, you need not carry physical copy of invoice. What you can carry? You can show to the officer the QR code which is embedded in your IRN, which is embedded in your IRN. You can produce to him that electronically also. That is also okay. No issue. No need to carry the physical copy of the invoice. In case a registered person will not have to upload the information part A of the e-way bill for generation of e-way bill, the same shall be auto populated by the common portal on the basis of information furnished in the prescribed form. So in case of e-invoice, when we furnish the data for e-invoice, it will also auto populate for the e-way bill. It will also auto populate for the e-way bill purpose. Okay. Next is document in lieu of e-way bill. So now when the circumstances say warrant, if the commissioner may by notification require the person to carry the following documents instead of e-way bill: tax invoice, bill of supply, bill of entry as the case may be, or delivery challan where the goods are transported for reason other than supply. So is it in all the cases? No, it is when the commissioner feel that the circumstances are so, then he will say okay, you don't carry e-way bill, you can carry either the tax invoice or the bill of supply or the bill of entry or the delivery challan as the case may be. Then cancellation of e-way bill. Now you have generated the e-way bill, but you want to cancel the e-way bill due to any reason. You want to cancel the e-way bill. So is the cancellation possible? Yes, cancellation is possible. So where e-way bill has been generated, but either the goods are not transported or not transported as per the details furnished in the e-way bill. So either the goods are not transported or the goods are not transported as per the details. In that case, e-way bill may be cancelled electronically. What you can do? You can cancel the e-way bill electronically on the common portal within 24 hours of generation. Whenever you have generated it within 24 hours of its generation, you can cancel the e-way bill. However, e-way bill cannot be cancelled if it has been verified in transit. Now, if the officer has verified the same in the transit, then definitely you cannot cancel it. When you can cancel it? After generation you can cancel it, but if it has not been verified, then only you can cancel it. Further, unique e-way bill, and within 24 hours of generation you can cancel it. Okay, if it is not verified. Further, unique e-way bill number is generated is valid for a period of 15 days. For how many days e-way bill number is valid? Whenever I generate the e-way bill number, then it is valid for 15 days. It is valid for 15 days. Then facility for uploading information regarding detention of vehicle. Now officer has detained your vehicle for more than a period of 30 minutes. Then what you can do? Then you have the facility, then you can upload this information in the form. So where a vehicle has been intercepted and detained for a period of exceeding 30 minutes, officer has made you wait. The transporter may upload the said information in specified form on the common portal. In that case, transporter can upload the information in the specified form. Then next, inspection and verification of goods. Inspection and verification of goods. A summary report of every inspection of goods in transit shall be recorded online by the proper officer within 24 hours of inspection. So whenever officer is, whenever officer is checking you on the post and all those things, so then what he has to do is to make the summary report as well as the final report. When he will make the summary report, he will make the summary report of every inspection, and it will be recorded online within 24 hours of inspection. Within 24 hours of inspection, he will make a summary report, and final report will be within 3 days of inspection. Within 3 days of inspection, he will make the final report. Okay, so within 24 hours of inspection, he has to make a summary report, and within 3 days of inspection, he will make a final report. He will make a final report. The commissioner or any other officer authorized by him may, on sufficient cause being shown, extend the time for recording the final report for a further period exceeding 3 days. So, if the circumstances so warrant, then extension can be given for a further period of 3 days. Otherwise, summary report in 24 hours, final report in 3 days. But if the commissioner so feel, then more period of 3 days. Extension can be given for final report. No further physical verification of the said conveyance shall be carried out in the state, union, territory unless a specific information regarding evasion of taxes made available subsequently. So, if there is information for evasion of tax, they can, they can hold you multiple number of times in the same state. But if there is no information, if there is no information regarding regarding evasion of the tax, they cannot, verify your vehicle more than once in the same state or union territory. Okay. Only such goods or conveyance should be detained, confiscated, in respect of which there is a violation of the provisions of the Act or rules made thereunder. So, the goods conveyance which will be detained, confiscated will be in respect of which there is a violation of provision, in respect of which there is a violation of the provisions of the GST. Next, consolidated e-way bill. What do you mean by consolidated e-way bill? That we'll see. So, where a consignee has not generated e-way bill, you have not generated the e-way bill. You have not generated the e-way bill in GST EWB 01. And aggregate value of the goods carried in the conveyance is more than 50,000, then the transporter, except in case of transportation of goods by railway, air and vessel, shall in respect of interstate supply generate the e-way bill in EWB 01, in GST EWB 02 on the common portal prior to the movement of the goods. So, now what happened? So, for example, now I have given to the transporter goods worth rupees 5,000. You have given regarding 10,000. Anyone has given 20,000. So, everyone's value is less than 50,000. So, no one is required to make the e-way bill. But the conveyance in which the transporter is carrying the goods, the total value of that conveyance, the goods in that conveyance is more than 50,000. More than 50,000. Then the transporter has to generate the e-way bill and the consolidated e-way bill. Okay. When he will make, prior to the movement of the goods, he has to make. Where the goods to be transported are supplied through ECO or courier agency, the part A of information may be furnished by ECO or the courier agency. Where multiple consignment are intended to be transported in one conveyance, the transporter may indicate the serial number of the e-way bill generated in respect of each consignment, and consolidated e-way bill may be generated on the common portal. So, he will generate both individual e-way bills as well as consolidated e-way bill, and that will he will upload on the common portal. Okay. So, because the individual values were less than 50,000, the respective persons has not generated the e-way bill, but transporter has to generate the e-way bill before movement of the goods. Next is restriction on furnishing of the information in part A of EWB 01. So, now what is this? Restriction on furnishing of information in part A of EWB 01. No person shall be allowed to furnish information in part A of GST EWB 01 in respect of any outward movement of the goods. Outward movement of the goods of a registered person. So, no person shall not be allowed to furnish information in part A of GST EWB 01 in respect of outward movement of the goods who a person paying tax under composition scheme has not furnished the statement for self-assessed tax for 2 consecutive quarters. So, you were under composition scheme and you have not furnished the statement for 2 consecutive quarters. Then you are not allowed to furnish the information in part A of the GST of the e-way bill. Okay. So, you are a person under composition scheme and you have not furnished the statement of self-assessed tax for 2 quarters, or you are a person under regular scheme and you have not furnished the returns for 2 consecutive tax period, or a person paying tax under regular scheme has not furnished GSTR1 for any of the 2 months or the quarter, or a person whose registration has been suspended under Rule 21A pending the completion of the proceedings for cancellation of registration. So if you are any of these, okay, you are a composition dealer, you have not furnished the statement for 2 consecutive quarter, you are a regular scheme dealer, you have not furnished returns for 2 tax period, you are paying tax under regular scheme, you have not furnished GSTR1 for 2 months or 2 quarter, or your registration has been suspended under Rule 21A. So in all these cases, you are not allowed to furnish information in Part A of GST EWB 01. However, Commissioner, on receipt of application from the person on sufficient cause and reasons to be recorded in writing, he will allow, if the Commissioner feels so, he will allow the person to furnish the information in Part A of GST EWB 01. An order rejecting the request shall not be passed without giving a reasonable opportunity of being heard. So under indirect taxes, obviously principle of natural justice to be followed. Reasonable opportunity of being heard would be given to the person before rejecting his order, before the rejection. Okay, so this was very quickly we have discussed what the revision which we have done for e-way bill chapter. Okay, so we'll stop our discussion over here for this chapter. Beta, thank you for now.